I'm going to be talking to Jacques Harel from Attac, Saint-Malo.
Yes, Saint-Malo, France, and Saint-Malo, Jersey, because we have a connection, a friendship between Saint-Malo and Jersey in Attac.
You are going to speak in French?
Yes, in English.
And you need to speak quite loud.
Yeah, okay.
Almost shout, actually.
Right, I'll try that. Yeah.
Jacques, Societe Generale has a social and ethical policy. How is it implementing this in Jersey and other tax havens?
Well, it's interesting to know that, as you know, all banks now have their code of conduct, their code of ethics, their code of good manners, what they, in scientific terms, call their deontological text. I'm going to read an extract of this just to give you an idea of the rhetoric and to see in comparison how it refers to realities. Donc, la Société Générale, comme toutes les banques, a maintenant, ça fait partie de la nécessité pour une banque internationale d'avoir un code de déontologie qui est signé par chacun des agents de cette banque. Vous allez écouter un petit peu le type de rhétorique qu'on retrouve dans ce texte, que vous pourriez retrouver certainement dans l'autre banque, et essayer de mettre cette rhétorique en liaison avec ce qui se passe réellement sur le terrain. This is in English for the deontology or the official code of conduct. Deontology or work ethical values within the companies have always been shared by all members of the Société Générale. It doesn't lie in the expertise of some, but in the culture of all. Created in 1997, the Deontology Direction has widened its scope to include brand image risk in all departments. It has devised rules of conduct in keeping with the best standards in the profession. These rules get far beyond the strict legal obligations. Such rules include, in the Société Générale, not to accept to work with a client or a counterpart whom or which we do not know well, to be able to assess the economic legitimacy of an operation, to be able to justify under any circumstance a position that has been taken, and it goes on and on like that for pages. In the end, you have this passage which is a bit dubious perhaps, and that looks like or sounds like the small print element in your insurance contract, you know. The Société Générale, however, well, sorry, I should start earlier. The Société Générale has defined internal rules to avoid any settlement in a country considered as having damaging tax practices, having insufficient policies to oppose money laundering. The Société Générale, however, is not opposed to being present in those countries when an effective banking activity is practiced that responds to the needs of local or international clients and that norms of the Société Générale as practiced everywhere in the world in the fight against money laundering. Now, if we oppose that to what is taking place here, of course, it's two worlds. Now, it's interesting to know that the Société Générale was founded in 1893, but it is present in Monaco as early as 1903, in Switzerland as early as 1926. Since 1967, it has been present in Jersey and Guernsey. Its international activities in most tax havens literally started booming in 1997 with the creation of its specific company, SG Private Banking, present virtually in most tax havens from the Bahamas to Gibraltar. Société Générale, as you probably know, came to fame recently in 2008 with the Kerviel case, in which one single trader managed to induce a loss of 5 billion euros for the bank, plus 2 billion to be added to that for the subprime crisis. Compare that to the loss of 850 million pounds by Nick Leeson in 1995 in Barings Bank, and this looks poor in comparison. It means that some individuals can do that without any supervision, and put that in context with what we have read just before. It speaks volumes about the realities of those banks.
In English, what Yann is saying is that the French government is having to bail out banks. It isn't talking to banks like Societe Generale about the sort of projects that they're funding. And he gave two examples. One is a dam called the Lisu in Turkey. It's a dam that will be built in the Kurdish region of Turkey. it will forcibly remove, forcibly 78,000 people, mainly mainly of Kurdish origin. Also have downstream impacts on Iraq and Syria. A very controversial project, and yet that sort of funding has not been questioned by the French government, with a requirement that any money that is taken up by the bank should have social and environmental conditionality. Another project he mentioned was a Sakhalin oil and gas project in Russia. Now, very interestingly, Sakhalin, the company that's promoting that, Shell, it is being promoted through a tax haven. The Shell Energy is actually registered in a tax haven in Bermuda. So there is that link too. And he was asked whether there were specific links to this branch of the Jersey branch. No, but I think the important point is that these all form a web, that the two things come together, and that the really critical issue is, if money is going to go from the public purse to private banks, it should come with conditionality. And I think we'll hear more about that also with RBS when we move forward. There is one more question.
On aura une question en français pour Jacques Harel.
Yeah.
Generally, I think it's interesting to know that most major French companies now have subsidiaries in cooperation with those banks. 1,500 all in all, from a recent survey. Societe Generale alone has 57 subsidiaries in tax havens. Assets of French nationals in Jersey in all banks are reported by IMF to be around $10 billion. What is perhaps more specific to France is the traditional systemic collusion, connection between politicians and the banking world. This came to light on many occasions through court cases you may have heard of, like the Elf Total scandal, which was also included opacity-making shell companies in many tax havens. Jersey was mentioned on that occasion. More recently, the Angola Gate case illustrated once more those links between political parties, politicians in France and Angola. It was a matter of arms, weapons, smuggling, okay? And the contracts included massive bribes for well-known politicians. Now the judges that are exploring the case have not been able to get to the end of the network of opacity that led to tax havens and so anonymity in the end. A French association, NGO called Survie, who is working a lot with ATTAC and other associations, reminds regularly the French government's relationship with its former African colonies in particular. Still, today you can see that in a very ambiguous way. For instance, in July 2007, during the French political campaign, a candidate to the French presidency made a speech about the need for African leaders to invest in Africa, I quote, instead of diverting money to their own profit. The next day, the very next day, he was with Omar Bongo, who has been ruling Gabon for 40 years as one of the most typical kleptocrats in the developing world. This man was Sarkozy. This is also why we have serious doubts about the depth and reliability of the discussions in the G20 at the moment.